Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian, and again, we are in this winter wonderland here in Minnesota. We got 6, 8 inches of snow Tuesday night. We had a very wintry Wednesday, of course. Here we are at Thursday. Looking out the window, I still see the snow. It's about 32 degrees, and they say more in the forecast. So I guess we're pushing towards winter and we're completely out of the fall already, but that's okay. By the way, this is the take for Market Rebellion, and the market roller coaster has been absolutely extraordinary, and that continues as well. Look over at where exactly the Dow had traded to yesterday, up as high as 28,450. Finished the day actually closing in negative territory, down about 100 points. You look over at the NASDAQ, a similar sort of a story. Finished in the red by about 31 points, dropped 100 points off of the highs of the day. So we also saw that playing out in terms of crude. Crude started off the day, it was been moving up. It had been up in the 41 area and actually even a little bit above that, only to pull back towards 40 once again. The one area that I think needs to be hit on that we don't talk about enough, I've not been talking about enough, but copper. Take a look at what Freeport-McMoRan's been doing over the last several sessions. Matter of fact, the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you want to look at, that's been a nice solid move to the upside. Why is that? Because copper has been up and above this $3 level now for a while. So keep an eye on that if you want to just kind of keep an eye on different commodities. I think that's one's very important in terms of what's going on around the world, and people talk about this all the time. So at least I think that's something you want to have a little bit of knowledge of. So keep an eye on that. Just go to the commodities area of whatever you're using and try to find where copper's trading each and every day. And quite honestly, take a glance over at Freeport-McMoRan, gives you a little bit of insight in what's going on in that space. So earnings season, yes, and it's not just about the financials. Wow, we had some effects going on. Obviously, Netflix down about 8% at certain times of the day post earnings. That was something. We had that beat down in energy, of course, and it affected all of the different aspects of energy, the big cap names, as well as some of those beta names, the Conoco, Concho, Pioneer, Apache, Chevron. You get the idea. Across the board, some effects as we started to watch that oil price come down. Industrials were hit a little bit yesterday, down about 1%. Financials cannot seem to hold on to that 25 level of the XLF. Talk about that all the time. So that little bit of pressure there for sure as they slip back down into the upper 24s, 2470, somewhere in that sort of range. Then we had the earnings run. And the earnings run, we had names like Chipotle. Well, that didn't fare so well early on, at least yesterday, down about 4.5%. Peloton down about 6%. Fell another 3% after the earnings. So Intuit was not looking so great. And then Post, not so great. And Tesla, well, Tesla actually came through and was looking like some of those numbers might be very, very impressive. But was the stock going to give us enough of a reaction? Last night, not so much. I'll give you a little update on where things are right now. VIX, we did hit 30 yesterday. We did pull back off of that as well. We backed off actually about 2%, despite the fact that the markets actually finished on the lows, call it, of the session. So that was something that was pretty interesting, I thought, because we all, you hear about the fear index. Well, when the markets are going down, that's usually when you're supposed to, you kind of expect fear, right? Well, why did we go down about 2% late in the day in terms of the volatility index if that's the case? Again, it's all about the measurements. And that's exactly why it's trading somewhere between, call it 28 and 30, or call it 29 right now. So volume, 26 million contracts again, very strong. Here's what really stood out, however. Yes, Apple's in the top three. It was nearly 1 million contracts, well beneath the daily average. On the other hand, Snap was over 2 million contracts yesterday. No, excuse me, 1.2 million contracts yesterday. That's about 800% more than the daily average. Just to give you a little idea of how much was going on there. That was a jump yesterday in Snap of a solid 20+%. Tesla rounding off the top three with about 728,000 contracts. So still a very, very busy day. Felt a little bit quieter, but when you start trading 30 million, 33 million, you go back to 26 million, it does feel a little bit quieter. So getting into today, I look outside, I see that cold. It feels like a lot like yesterday. Well, you look at the markets, they feel a little bit like yesterday as well. Market started on the open pretty strong. We actually had a pretty nice lift to the upside in the pre-market as well, but you get a move early on right out of the gates. You're up 60, 70 points on the Dow. 30 minutes into the day, you're up another 50 points. Now I'm looking at it 8 minutes later, so we're 38 minutes into the day. We're at 15 on the Dow. We're up 15 points. We were up, like I say, 60, 70 points early on, only to fall right back once again. You look over at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was up 50. Then it was up about 35 the first half hour. Right now, it's holding on. It's up about 8 points. So call the Dow about unchanged, the NASDAQ about unchanged. I'm looking at the S&P as well. Call that one unchanged. And I'm looking at the volatility index, 2865. There it is. It's unchanged. So that's what we're looking at. Earnings, the follow through. So Tesla, that's up about 4% today. I look over at Chipotle. Now that's getting beat up pretty good. That's down 7%. So that's a pretty harsh move to the downside. Peloton down about 3.5%. There are some positives out there, though. Look at Align Technology. That name up 31% today. That's an amazing move to the upside, a powerful move to the upside. Also, CSX, big rail, up about 5.5% today as well. So a lot of different movement, definitely within what we're looking at in the market. Some of those high flyers under a little bit of pressure, although Tesla's up 4%. And some of those other names that we don't talk about nearly as much. And the rails, no one really wants to talk about rails. Oh, we're seeing some movement there. But they've actually had some really nice performance along with the truckers to the upside. So to see that and CSX up about 5.5%, not shocking. UNP not doing quite as well, obviously, looking at some of the results after their earnings as well. So what's really powering or been moving the markets a little bit early on? Well, in the industrial space, as a matter of fact, in the Dow Industrial, Coke looked very strong early on. We had some help also from Boeing and from Dow and from Honeywell and Caterpillar. So the industrial strength there as well. But IBM still struggling a little bit. Travelers pulling back a little bit. They're both in the red. And so that's pulling on the Dow quite a bit right now in terms of what was a Dow that was up 70. Now it's up right now 10. Now I'm looking over at the NASDAQ with the CSX numbers. That's really strong. Add in Tesla, add in Zoom, add in Win. Those are some of the more powerful moves to the upside. On the other hand, you're seeing some of those chip names. Applied Materials, KLAC 10 Core, ASML, those kind of names, PayPal, throw that in there. They're all pulling a little bit right now on the NASDAQ. So you're looking at the chips right now, the semiconductors, they're relatively flat. You look over at technology, it's relatively flat. So you've got kind of a waiting for Godot kind of a moment here. It seems like the markets have pushed back down once again and now waiting. And what are they waiting for? Well, stimulus, maybe more earnings. What's going to happen? What's going to be pushing markets around a little bit more? Is there going to be something of a much more major influence? We know we've got some huge earnings in front of us right now. And that's, we got through the banks. Now we're getting through some of the other names as well. But I think when you look ahead a week or so, that's when we start to see some of the really big names, the Apples, the Amazon, all the names that everybody is waiting on. And that's going to be very influential on the markets, obviously. But stimulus and earnings, that really is the story right now. And that's what pushes us to these levels. Like I say, call them flat right now. So we do have a little bit of unusual option activity today. So what am I looking? I'm looking at Las Vegas Sands. And what makes that interesting is stock's already running to the upside after they produced their numbers. And yet, stock trading at 48.75, they are buying the 48 strike calls that expire on the 30th. So giving a little bit of time. I'm not giving a lot. So it's about a week out. But 4,600 of those October the 30th, the 48 strike calls going for about $2. So they're already about 75 cents in the money. So really that's about $1.25 of premium right now that you're looking at for these options. But it's really interesting to see that because normally you start to see some of the sellers come in after events and so forth and after big moves. It's not what we're seeing today. We're actually seeing some nice buying in there in Las Vegas Sands. So that one's one to keep an eye on, I think, for the rest of the day. Guys, it's Michigan week. Minnesota guy here, Little Brown Jug. We're only a couple of days away. Be doing some interviews here locally today. I've done a couple over the last couple of days getting into this whole thing. It's ABC. We've got game day here, the whole deal. It's going to be really, really exciting. So looking forward to that as well. I love the markets each and every day. Still have that love for football that I've got, and I'm excited about what we've got going on there. No, fans, well, in total, maybe we get 1,000, 1,500 fans at the stadium based upon only family members being able to go and this and that and all the different rules and so forth. But should be a great TV game, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are as well. That's going to be Saturday night at 6:30. Really exciting. Yesterday, had a great time with Ryan Mastro. We were talking about trading during these earnings times. How are some of the ways that you can sort of move around, shift around, find the best ways to navigate yourself as you're going through that. If you didn't get a chance to come yesterday, we had a lot of people on there. If you didn't get a chance to watch that yesterday live, there will be pieces that can be sent out as well. So keep an eye out for those. You can go to the Market Rebellion site to be able to watch. About an hour long, but it's very, very cool because Ryan is always full of energy. Love working with Ryan. He does an absolutely great job with everybody at different levels of their educational levels. He's another guy, floor trader. He knows it. He's an expert. He has all the ins and outs and fully understands what's going on in the options world, and really a guy who really understands the charts as well, looks at these technicals, really has a great understanding of all of that. So you want to maybe take a look at the Market Rebellion site on that as well. Folks, have a great day of trading.